Alright, welcome back to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. By this point, you are used to it. Huge battles, and we'll be using advanced tactics and that to show you how to win your big battles in Bannerlord. Today we're going to show a battle against Vlandians. Vlandians are also one of my toughest opponents. I would say them and the Aserai are probably the two most difficult opponents that I face. Part of the reason that's because my armies typically lean a little bit heavier towards archers. But I will show you how to defeat a large Vlandian force, even with their hundreds of heavy cavalry. This battlefield is actually pretty well suited to fight against Vlandia. I like the valley here. Oftentimes Vlandia is one of the most aggressive kingdoms. The kingdoms all have a little different approach to how they attack. Some kingdoms tend to be pretty passive. Of course, Khazate horse archers makes them very unique. The Aserai tend to be very aggressive, but the Vlandians almost always seem to come on the aggressive. The benefit is if you know your opponent's going to fight a certain way, you can counterpunch, right? If you know they're going to fight in a certain manner, you can prepare to deal with their certain way of fighting. Of course, you know, it would be nice if the artificial intelligence added a little bit of variability, but that's what we have. So with that in mind, here come almost 2,000 Vlandians. And right away you can see lots and lots of heavy cavalry, right? So one of the priorities will be to slow down and kill those heavy cavalry forces. One of the ways we're going to do that is the use of a square, right? So we're moving our 3rd cavalry up. They're going to be a square for the first part of the battle. I'm also moving another line of cavalry up that's in shield wall, spread in a long line, right? Meanwhile, above them I have my 6th and 8th units, which are my most elite units. They're ranged units. They tend to have a lot of skirmisher types, javelin throwers, but the 8th Corps also has guys with the bow and arrow and the nice crossbow skills as well. So far Vlandia is not being very aggressive. Sometimes they change mid tactics here. We'll see if they do resume their normal charge approach. And yes, their heavy cavalry is coming to bear here. Alright, so the 3rd cavalry is already set in a square. When it's clear where the attack is coming from their cavalry, I will move my 2nd cavalry in a line. And that flank over there, left flank, looks pretty vulnerable. So let's go ahead and get the 2nd cavalry put into a line out there. You see I'm just moving them out into the plateau there. All I want them to do is play a defensive role here while my ranged troops clean up. Right, you can already see the arrows raining down. At this stage, it looks like Vlandia is totally biting the bait on the square. It's about 20 cavalry, maybe 25 cavalry at most in the 3rd cavalry. By the way, you never want to have a square with less than like 10 units because they do, there goes ahead. Because they don't even make an actual square, right? At this stage, it looks like almost like piranhas trying to feed on those Vlandian cavalry. They're surrounding them. And look how effective the 2nd cavalry is as well. Some cavalry are leaking through. Let's do some damage in here. Some cavalry are leaking through, but a lot of them are just, they're piled up here like that scene in Office Space where the lady in the walker is just passing all the guys in traffic, right? But no, Mr. Lumberg already told me that if I set up a shield wall that there should not be cavalry in my backfield. But look at the cavalry in my backfield already here. They're attacking my archers. And he also took my swing line stapler. Mr. Lumberg did. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and have to ask you to stop attacking our archers now. That would be great. Okay? You want to prioritize protecting those units, right? If this is my primary weapon, here comes their infantry. It's not as many infantry because they have so many cavalry, but it's still formidable. Anyways, just to finish the thought, if you're protecting your archers, if that's your main strategy, well then obviously if they're getting trampled by a bunch of heavy horse, you're going to lose, right? Have you seen my stapler? Oftentimes you will see me dismount at this stage of a battle. It's a little bit more difficult to command the field from this stage, but I just feel like my overall vision is adequate, and most importantly, when I can wade in with the 8th Corps here with my vicious two-handed skills, it's pretty much curtains for most enemy forces, right? This is kind of a pain, right? You're going to get run over by 100 different stray horses that are running through the valley. Eventually you'll just learn to bob and weave, right? So their infantry corps is so far away, I'm not actually going to run over there super urgent. I know I have enough infantry to deal with them. This cavalry on the left flank here is making me uncomfortable. The infantry is starting to trickle over as is anyways, so we'll clean up what comes over. But as long as we can control their heavy cavalry, which we're continuing to do, each time I look, the third cavalry is still surrounded by troops. Then we've got this battle under easy handles. Yeah, look at it over there. There's swarmed to it almost like a bait ball of fish, right? There's just enemies. Look at, they're almost like a magnet. They're pouring over to it, and you know it's dwindled down. I see some of the troops have died, but how many enemy have died? Right? They're swarming all around it like bees, and they're being shot to pieces by the real threat. Right? This is one of the cases where hopefully a human opponent would not be quite this naive. Nevertheless, we soldier on. Some people have asked if I ever intend to play a multiplayer version of Bannerlord. That's conceivable, but I'm basically a near retired old dog. It's unlikely my wife's going to tolerate me spending huge hours playing some online games, so probably not. Content in the short term though to help other players beat up their opposition here. So the third cavalry probably now is, they're down to 8 guys. They're almost decimated, but again, that's to quote the Dumb and Dumber scene. You know, that was a risk we were willing to take, right? Those guys are sacrificial in this case. When you're fighting 2,000 troops, you're going to lose a lot of troops anyways. If you would have told me before the battle started that we would lose 25 guys, I would have said sure. That's a great trade, right? The infantry and archers are still kind of trickling in here. Again, my archers are just laying waste. You can actually still see them shooting their archers. They're getting huge waves of reinforcements that's doing some damage, but other than that, we're just cleaning up these archers as their entire force seems infatuated with our cavalry square there. Eventually, the last guy is going to be down here soon, but in the short term, I mean, give those guys a medal. What a job they did. So at this stage, we're actually moving up the 6th and 8th Corps, just to do some damage finally to these attackers, right? We can avenge our fallen comrades, these cavalrymen that so bravely held out, and we can come in here and just plow the road, right? At this stage, the enemy's down to probably tier 3 and tier 4 troops mostly. I see a few 5s in there. Most of these troops are lower level than the troops that we're charging with, and so that's why the screen is just all green, right? One of the most important things, and I don't say this enough, I'll say it right here, one of the most important things in Bannerlord in battles is to defeat the enemy's elite troops without losing most of yours. If a large part of your vanguard is alive still after you destroy the enemy vanguard, most of the time you're going to win. I say most of the time because if you're fighting a huge force, dodge that little crossbow, took your arm off, dude. If you're fighting a huge force, it's possible that you'll have to defeat multiple heavy vanguards. I have some battles that are on this channel that show that. But in this battle now, we're now fighting the peasants who have been armed for 2 months, and they're calling themselves Sturgian woodsmen, right? And these guys are basically just fodder. You just chop right through them with the axe. Body parts flying everywhere. Gotta be careful here, I'm gonna get killed. Sometimes I get a little overzealous. My character's a very fast character. He doesn't wear a ton of armor because of that. I do have a nice chest piece, but I'm wearing a bear hat, so you got to be careful how many blows to the cap you take. At this stage, you could do more tactics, but honestly, given the rush of guys I have up, if you already have a furious attack going on like this, the only way you could change that would be sort of a dramatic mid-battle retreat, and there would be serious losses. So it's actually better tactically to continue our offensive push here up the hill. Right, so we're continuing to push through. I don't know if this is like the 3rd or 4th wave of the enemy, cutting guys' legs and arms out. But this is, at this stage, you don't retreat. There's no reason to pull back tactically. We would actually suffer significant losses doing so, and so you just try to carve a path through these lower level troops, just like we're doing. It's conceivable that they will change the AI and how they deal with squares in the future, but this is probably the 5th or 6th dramatic big win that I've had using squares. And so until they do that, you might as well use it in your game. There are certain circumstances where the square fails, right? But this is tailor-made to order, with the Vlandian heavy cavalry coming down into a valley, baited by this square. You gotta figure a way to get out of here, surrounded by dudes. The shield on my back does a lot of blocking for me. It's pretty nice. You should be doing that if you're a two-handed weapon guy. I got smoked. In this case, though, it's perfect, though, this map, having the Vlandian heavy cavalry charge right down and just engage our forces while our archers just rain death. Right. So I realize this battle perhaps is showing tactics I've already showed before. I am going to show videos where it's a combination of different tactics, different scenarios. I will be trying to avoid loading videos where it's clearly like almost the exact same battle against the exact same forces, using the exact same tactics. I appreciate my subscribers, all the comments, and I want to keep the content fresh and helpful, because that's what I'm ultimately here for. I built this channel. My family has a history of teachers in it, oddly enough. My grandfather's a professor. I have an uncle who's a professor. My mother was a math and English teacher. I tend to want to teach war. I'm a professional firefighter at the end of his career, and so I do quite a bit of teaching at work still. But I really enjoy discussing the art of war, the philosophy of war, the tactics of war, and as a student of history, I think I have a lot to offer potential viewers and or subscribers. So the usual tagline here, please subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this battle. Please comment even if you didn't like the battle. If you want to see a certain type of battle, let me know. I'm highly receptive to requests or even criticism. Just keep it nice. We'll keep everything friendly while we kill these people in Bannerlord, and I will see you folks next time. Thanks for watching.